right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining in so early to this evening. And I wish all of you a very happy International Coaching Week to all the coaches and the aspiring coaches who've joined us today. My name is Rachel Abraham, and I am the community lead here at Coach Transformation Academy. So before we begin, before I introduce our panelists and the discussion topic, I would like to take a moment to thank our show partner for today, ICF UAE chapter. They collaborated with us to make this session possible, and a big thank you to the ICF team. Thank you very much. So now, before we go into the panel discussion, I want to talk about the journey we took in coming up with this panel. So when we first conceptualized this event, we just wanted to do something simple, bring our CTA community together, our alumni together, and create a space for open conversation. But when we did reach out to our CTA community who are here today with us, one question was something that really stood out to us, something that they really wanted to talk about, was discovering the right coaching niche for you. So that's what we did. And we started looking at our own community to look at the right speakers for the event. And as you can see on screen, these inspiring individuals here have had an amazing journey, and we just thought they'd be the right people to talk about this. So that's how this whole panel discussion came into being. So I'm very happy that all of you are here, and I'm going to get into introducing each of our panelists, and then we'll move into the panel discussion. First up, we have, yes, Kalloo, who's joining us all the way from Canada. It's actually 6 a.m. There in Canada. So Kyle is quite literally sacrificing his sleep cycle and possibly his sanity for the rest of the day to be here with us today. So thank you, Kyle. And Kyle has over 30 years of experience in leadership development. He's an accomplished author, as you can see, and he's also currently working with the Department of National Defense in Canada. Very happy to have you here, Kyle. All right. Next up, we have Dr. Syed, who I believe is no stranger to anybody in this room here. So Dr. Haris is actually the founder of Coach Transformation Academy. He's a master coach. He's a mentor. He's worked with 1,900 plus coaches worldwide. So he brings a very unique perspective into this conversation, not just as a coach, but as a coach for coaches. So we'd love to hear from you, Dr. Harris. Very happy that you're here. And last, but definitely not the least, we have Magda Snowden, bringing her blend of confidence, her honesty and real world insight. Magda is an accomplished author herself. She is a healthcare professional with over 2 decades of experience, and right now she's a mental agility coach. She specializes in strength, stress, resilience, and human performance. So we're truly excited to have all of you on the panel here today. And I can't wait to get into it. But before that, for the people in the audience today, I want to let you know that we are here to have a two-way conversation here. Like I said, this is supposed to be a community meeting, right? So it has to be a two-way conversation, and we'll get to that. The way we'll have it is that for the next 30 to 45 minutes, we will have a context setting by our panelists, after which we'll be taking questions. So please have your questions locked and loaded in the chat.
Nak, i-guide mo muna siya sa Amazon.
Loaded. That said, let's go into the panel discussion.
Ilagyan mo ng ano yung ulo niya.
Right.
Yan, tingnan mo na ka.
I hope everybody's... Okay, let me just stop sharing my screen so I can have everybody here. Yes. Hello, everyone. Hello, panelists. How are you feeling today?
Wow, Rachel, your energy. Thank you.
I think your energy has set the tone, Rachel. So I'm excited for that, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I was thinking we can start this conversation by getting to know a little bit about you folks, right? Each of you have carved your own unique space for yourself in the coaching industry, in the coaching space. And I'm sure that journey didn't happen overnight. There was a little bit of journey getting to it. So I'd like to know what your journey was, and along the way, if there was a moment of clarity, there's a moment that gave you clarity as to what am I supposed to do here? What am I meant to do here? Yeah, I'd like to hear from Kyle first.
I was hoping that you weren't going to pick me, but I'm glad to kick it off. So thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It's amazing to see your names and where you're from in the chat. So thank you so much for doing that. And I see there's a lot of places I still have not been in the world. So I'm making a note of places I definitely want to visit. So thank you so much for being here. Good evening, good afternoon, and in my case, good morning. So
What
thank you.
movies?
I think what I would like to start off with is just tell you a little bit of a story. So I started my career, like Rachel said, you know, it didn't happen overnight. I wish it was that easy, but it's not. So I started my career in a job that my mother told me not to take. She didn't think it was serious enough. And to be fair to her, I was going through studies. I was doing my studies. I was going through school at the time. So it was a summer break, so I took the job anyway. Not because I was trying to be rebellious, as I think most young people trying to navigate the world does, but because I really wanted to earn something for myself, right? I really wanted to be independent. I really wanted to be able to figure out who I was outside of what people might have expected of me in school. So the job actually taught me more about people than most formal programs ever did. And I think that's true for a lot of people, you know, when we talk about life experiences. So I started watching how my managers were treating people, how some could walk into a room and immediately shift the energy, like Rachel kicked us off with our energy today, right? Others would walk in and the whole team would shut down. You know, I didn't have the language at that time for it yet. I just knew something was happening between leaders and people around them. And most of the leaders had no idea what they were actually doing to others, right? So that's their impact to other people. So naturally, I was curious, and that curiosity never left me. So I started to get promoted in these jobs, not because I was chasing titles, nothing wrong with that, but because I kept asking questions no one else, I think, was asking at the time. I kept looking at systems and how decisions got made and what happened to people when leadership was absent, and even worse, inconsistent. So over time for me, those positions gave me what I would say is a front row view seat of what good leadership actually does and what poor leadership quietly destroys for most people. And what I also noticed was there's a gap. That wasn't very clear for me at the time. And so I did notice over a period of time that there was a lack of coaching or mentoring happening for their leaders themselves, right? People were getting promoted based on what they could produce, not on that capacity to develop others. And as coaches here and emerging coaches, I think you get that. You understand what that looks like. And that really surprised me earlier on in my career, and I could see the leaders were practically struggling. So I started working with significant organizations where I got opportunities to really showcase that curiosity. And at the same time, I kept noticing that pattern. Regardless of the sector, regardless of the level of leadership or where you are in the organization, most people think they have self-awareness. And the reality is they don't. If we're truly being honest with ourselves, we don't. And that's not necessarily criticism, so please don't hear that. It's just the reality of how most of us move through our careers. We look outward, right? We collect experiences. We use these experiences to make decisions. We rarely stop to examine the thinking that is underneath that. And I think Dr. Harris does that quite well in his programs, right? How do we get deeper into that decision? We rarely stop and ask ourselves whether the story that we might be telling ourselves is actually true. So that's what drew me into credentials, not the letters after my name. I wanted that structured framework for understanding myself and, more honestly, right? Who am I and why do I do what I do? I wanted to learn how I hold a mirror up in front of my own thinking before I started doing that with other people. And I found that the deeper I went into that work personally, the more effective I became professionally. The coaching came from that for me, not from a business plan, not from that genuine belief that most people, including very capable leaders, are navigating the world almost entirely on feel, with very little structured reflection. And that's when someone finally gets a space to slow down, I think, clearly. I think there's the shift that happens. And as coaches, we like that, right? We like to see that shift. So real things starts to change when that shift happens. Not because someone gave them the answer, but because the first time they actually heard themselves. So that is why I do what I do, and that's why I'm still doing it. Thank you.
Love that. Love to hear that. I guess we'll move on to the next speaker, Dr. Harris.
Thank you, Rachel. And that was inspiring, Kyle, to hear what you said. And everybody, thank you so much for being on this session today. It feels home when I see our graduates and our people who we worked with and we're already working with and connecting again. So I am from India. I think most of you know that. And I am also from a culture where we would not know until, even after our graduation, we would not know what to do next. We're struggling with finding a career. We're struggling to find what's next for ourselves. And that's my story too. But anyway, at that time, HR as an industry was evolving. So I wanted to be in the best college in my area, and that's where they were offering HR as a specialization. And I happened to get into that. And my career moved ahead and I progressed in whatever capacity in HR. Ultimately, I was looking at leadership development for an organization of 75,000 plus people. And we had about 1,900 plus leaders globally that we were working with. And my boss asked me that we should do an assessment to identify what leader needs to learn. And at that time, I don't know if that assessment is still there. There used to be an assessment by Eoin Hewitt, and that's called Facet 5. Now, as an HR, I'm the sponsor. So we do a dry run of that assessment on ourselves. And I almost did that for 5 times, and the result will say, you are a coach leader. And I'm thinking in my head, what kind of a leader am I? Because everybody's getting charismatic leader and democratic leader and servant leader, and I'm a coach leader. And that's the word, that's the first time I'm hearing that. Am I a sports coach? What am I going to become? How am I going to work with people? I got into some research from there. And back then, ICF and coaching and all of that was not so known. And by the way, looking on the internet was not even an option. 2011 and 2008, I'm talking about, for coaching and all of that. What people knew was Orkut and Facebook. Yeah, they did not know so much of a Google search. So anyway, I got into research, understanding what is coaching and all of that. I started reading a couple of stuff. And then when I first got introduced, it's like I'm meeting with myself. And I'm telling myself, my style is not telling in general. My style is generally asking people and listening to them more than telling. And that developed my interest because it is something it. Now you're getting words and theory and framework for who you are already. So you're discovering yourself. And that's where the journey started. And I also realized, I'm also blessed to be I think born in a family where my mother had a style of asking, then telling us what to do. So we were never imposed, what do we have to do? We were rather asked, what do you want to do? And then based on what we want to do, we were supported. So I realized, I think I come from that background or a culture as a family, and that's where I am who I am. And that's what, when I'm meeting with coaching, it feels like I'm meeting with myself. And I think when things resonate that way with you, any profession or anything that you want to do in life, I think it makes you feel that you have come home and this is where you want to be forever. Now, back then, the word niche did not even exist, by the way. Forget about ACC, PCC, MCC, all of that was still evolving. So I think what made me continue my journey was realizing that this is what I want to do. And when I will do it, I will know how to do it better. and where will I go? Because it's a journey with signposts. It's not a map to really create and then walk on it. So I think that was a mindset that I had, and that has been our journey. A lot of failures, and I think so. Ultimately, I made a decision in 2011 to leave my job and start coaching full time, and I did not know what to do. And back then, LinkedIn was picking up. Of course, WhatsApp was there, but not as common as it is today. So I would email some of my old bosses and heads that I had worked with. And there was one boss who, two people, in fact, and two very opposite people. One of them I did not want even to say yes to, by the way, kind of a person. Agreed to get in touch and understand. And I said, you know, I want to sit with you and have you experience coaching, and I want you to tell me, how does this experience go for you? So the one guy said awesome, and the other guy said horrible. Literally, these are the words, okay? And then the second guy who said horrible was my friend. And then the rest is the story to learn from it. So I think the experiences have evolved us, or me especially, in journey. And I think one more realization that keeps me anchored with coaching is that my belief has been now that answers are more powerful, questions are more powerful than answer. So I think that's the belief that carrying and that I'm carrying and I'm taking with me, which is making this journey move ahead. And I think that should be it, Rachel, and the audience here to hear. I think rest, I do know that Rachel wants to get it back, the mic. Yeah. Thank you. That was the story. Yeah.
No, I'd like you to keep going, Dr. Harris, for sure. But we'll come back to that. Magda, you come from another field altogether. You come from the healthcare sphere. I'd like to know your experience so far and your moment of clarity.
So first of all, happy International Coaching Week. Happy to be back with CTA. It's been a while. Thank you to ICF to supporting also this amazing space, the community space, as you said. It feels really different. It's a breath of fresh air. It's not just us talking about ourselves. It's inviting people to the conversation, which I really welcome. And Rachel, one more time, your energy is fabulous. Thank you so much. I am on the wings of your energy after a long day. Now, when you ask me about the introduction, I leave my titles and the credentials on the site because you can find it on the website, on the CV, you know, on LinkedIn. I don't do Facebook. I left it a long time ago. You can find it in the digital space. Magda is a human being that is passionate about understanding how the mind works, was the connection between mind, body, heart, and spirit and soul. Because in coaching, they often say mindset shift. But if your spirit is suffering, your heart is not in alignment, how are you going to achieve that mindset shift? So this is what I do. My journey is in healthcare. Yes, I've been a nurse. I've progressed from a care assistant to director of nursing position. So similarly to Kyle, progressed really fast because I was good at crisis management. I was good at firefighting. I would spot the deteriorating patient before they even had the chance to show it on the monitor. I could run 2 bays of patients instead of 1, pick up mistakes of others, correct it, and you know how healthcare works. Go to the busiest hospital, you can realize what type of firefighting goes in there. So, Magda always wanted to be a nurse. However, Magda in her teenage years thought that she is not smart enough to pass the entry exam to the nursing college. So instead, she decided, okay, let me study something else. And I studied Russian. My first degree is master's in Russian. literature and language. My confidence started growing. I've realized that I am smart. I am smart. I became the top student, not one of the top student. I received a good scholarship and I spent that money to study English. So I started investing. I realized the power of investing in myself. And I came across good individuals, kind individuals that started providing me feedback. And a lot of this feedback was not only trajectory changing, some of it is life changing. I like to give credit to the people who helped me become that human being that I am today, because it's not I created myself. One day I woke up and I decided I'm going to write a book, create a framework, and then I start coaching people. Okay. Dr. Harris is one of the people who, when I was working in Kuwait as a director of nursing, he came to do, together with Franda, to run a program, I think it was level 1 and 2, for the coaches, for some of the employees of the organization. And during the final session, when we were giving our reflections in the circle, he stood behind me and he said, Magda, don't be so hard on yourself. At that point, I was still in the hero narrative. In healthcare, we are heroes. We run continuously, depleting ourselves, pouring for others. How did he know? You know, this guy is a magician. I don't know what power he has, supernatural, but he knew. Don't be so hard on yourself. I cried, and Magda doesn't cry. We all cried, I think, in the circle. In the very same hospital, Dr. Fatten, the CEO, told me, Magda, nursing is not your passion anymore. And in that moment, I could have become defensive and say, what do you mean? I always wanted to be a nurse. Look at my journey. I decided to listen. Because Dr. Fatten is one of the biggest empaths I've ever met. The feedback came from the heart space. She cared about me. That's why she delivered this feedback. What she saw, it was the systemic coaching principles that I was using when improving hospital practices with the teams. So similarly to Kyle, I am a systemic team coach, and I swear by the power of collective intelligence. When people come together and there is right leadership, you can create magic. So when my contract finished in that hospital, I decided consciously, or honestly, it was probably not conscious at the beginning. I just didn't apply anywhere else. And I started this journey. So what should I do? I need to have a niche. I didn't even at that point realize that healthcare is my niche. How come I'm sitting in this environment? What is going on? How? I don't know that this is what I will be doing in the future. Of course, there are obstacles. Nothing flows as beautiful. There is still a lot of organizations that are not ready for this kind of conversation. Improvement in healthcare, I still feel, is behind many other industries. So industries are more brave than others. It's not a critique. The stakes are high in healthcare. So you don't just tell people do it and they do it tomorrow. Yeah, there is the safety component that is huge. So the clarity component also for me, on top of the feedback, when I worked in the NHS in the UK, I was in charge of a COVID field hospital here in Dubai during pandemic, and in Kuwait, I saw the same patterns. Individuals are stressed and burning out. The leadership doesn't have a language. The organization doesn't have capacity to address. They are all suffering. They're getting more and more burnt out. Patient is suffering. Something is not working. Initially, I became angry. There was a lot of anger and frustration on my part. And then I started using this anger to create. And I've learned that anger is one of these beautiful emotions that when you direct it into creative space instead of destructive space, you can be that positive change agent. So being angry is good. We always say, sit with this emotion and listen to the message. Every emotion has a message from you to you. What is it? Sit in there. There is no good or bad emotion. And I say this proudly. I was angry, I was frustrated. But instead of complaining, I started creating. I understood what people needed. I kept asking questions, similar like Kyle and Dr. Harris, curiosity. I learned or amplified my curiosity because of the training I received in CTA. Ritu was one of my first trainers in CTA, and that was the curiosity. And when I sat in the first sessions, I was not confident enough to ask that curious question. And when they asked me that question, I didn't know what to say. So the evolution, as Harris, as you said, when you start noticing that you are coming home and you feel good in this space, because whatever you do professionally, it should not be a struggle. It should not be a pull or pushing the wall or banging on the door. It should feel a natural flow. So wrapping this up, when people ask me, why did you leave nursing? I say, I never left nursing. The same way I cared about my patients, I care about my clients, about the community, whether it's coaching, training, mentoring, facilitation. I care, and this is my strength. I can create a space and people will cry when they meet themselves and when they look in that mirror. And I bring actual mirrors, physical mirrors to the session. So this is my journey, and honestly, I cannot thank you enough for this opportunity for me to verbalize it, because every time I share it, I hear more. There is another awareness somewhere there, and I'm sure there will be more when we hear the amazing, curious questions from our audience and from you, Rachel. So thank you.
Thank you so much, panelists. I think what I learned is curiosity, self-realization, and reinvention. I think I can sum it up to those 3 words from what I heard from all 3 of you. Love it. Now let's get into the question that we're all here for. Everyone here to listen to your answers on this question. To niche or not to niche, right? I'd love to hear your perspectives on this. Do you, as coaches, believe that a coach must have a niche to succeed? And if yes, how and when should they start narrowing their focus, and what must they avoid? I know it's a loaded question. There's so much to answer here, but I'd like to know, because people are here for answers at the end of the day, and I'd like to hear the full view of this perspective, of your perspective. Harris, would you like to go first?
I don't know if you want me to go first, only because I think my perspective might be a little bit different. So maybe I'll just sit this one out for the beginning and just hear what, I'd love to hear what Magda has on that. And that was eloquent, Magda. Thank you so much for sharing that.
My goodness. So we've met, the 3 of us, a couple of days ago to just do the synergy check. This is not rehearsed. We don't have any questions. I don't have a script. I hate scripts, to be honest. It's just a coaching conversation or a conversation between humans, many humans in this room. And Kyle said something that really caught my attention, and I wrote it down and I borrowed it. He said, specific is terrific. So having a niche, yes, it is good in some respect. And again, we are not here to tell you, go and have a niche, don't have a niche. This is how my journey helped me discover what I enjoy doing, what I'm good at, and where the biggest impact is. So if you're looking for that niche, I would say, where is your biggest impact? Even though my passion is in healthcare, again, I understand the industry more than any other coach that doesn't have insight, but I'm not saying that if you haven't worked with healthcare professionals, you cannot. You have a perspective of a patient. You've been in a hospital. One of your relatives have been looked after by these professionals. However, it is my passion. Of course, I come from a different angle when I work in healthcare, but I've realized that a lot of other industries are going through exactly the same challenges. Leadership challenges, I see the same in banking, in IT, in government industries. People are stressed. We are in stress and burnout epidemic, mental health epidemic. It's not only in organizations. Look what is going on in the world currently. We cannot not acknowledge the geopolitical changes. For those living here in the Middle East, even having families in this part of the world, when the conflict is, we have to talk about it and we have to acknowledge that this is what is happening. So where is my impact? I would say understand where is it. Understand where is it, what you are good at, what you enjoy, and get feedback from your clients. Like Harris received some good one and not so good one, and listen. And if it's a constructive one, get a little bit more detail. Because ultimately we are who we are, and we are specialists in this particular niches because people said that we are good at what we are doing, that the impact is there. And the examples, like I gave Dr. Fatten, we were able to create a first antenatal education program in a private hospital in Kuwait that doesn't exist anywhere else. And we did it in 3 months. That was using systemic coaching principles. I just brought people to the table and they did the magic. And even the CEO was surprised. So when you start listening, okay, you got at it, you also start evaluating, start going deep. Yes, you are good, but the continuous improvement has to be there. It's not you are, even if you are MCC, the journey has to be there. I am curious, I need even more feedback. The higher I go, the more feedback has to come to the table. And this is again, curiosity helped me to make sure that I don't sit on the top of that mountain and think that I know everything. Because for me, learning something new every day through just simple human interaction. So here in this session, before this webinar, I just completed a 2-day training, and the learning is immense. And it lifts me up, it lifts other people up. So I'm saying, this is how I found my niche, but I'm not saying that you need to stay there, because I also know I now have feedback about my impact in other industries. But the final sentence in here is you need to know yourself before you start looking for that niche. Who are you? Come back to yourself. So there is no magic shortcuts, as we said. Please do not fall for these programs that tell you that you can have 6-figure clients straight after finishing your weekend coach training session. Please, you need to have a degree of credibility, practice, proficiency before you get that 6-figure. There isn't a shortcut. You will try and fail. You will try, fail, you try, you succeed. You try, you fail, you try, you succeed. And then you will start telling stories like this. This is how I arrived at my niche. And I'm sure that a lot of you already have this type of stories. So start getting them out. Start talking about it so you can hear yourself. You might get more clarity. I might be on the right way. Or maybe I need a detour. I need to go left instead of going right.
Well, Magda, thank you for that safe space for me to jump in. I appreciate that, if that's okay, Dr. Harris. The psychological safe space you just created for me was helpful. When I got the call and we were having this conversation and Rachel and I engaged a little bit, and I said, I don't think I am the person you're looking for for this panelist, because I've got a similar perspective on this as well. And here's how I will try to be as succinct as possible when it comes to the niche, because it's a question I often get outside of this as well. And here's how I would put it, so bear with me. Niches are that entry mechanism, right? They do get people through the door as intended, like most marketing. They get people through the door. But then what happens once they walked in? That is entirely on you as a coach, right? If your clients aren't returning, you may be very good at the marketing, but you might not be a great coach. So like Magda said, is when you know you and you're quite comfortable with you and you can get quite specific on what that looks like for you, then you can show up authentically, right, is a part of it. So if I could give you a metaphor, because sometimes in coaches we do love a good metaphor, I think it's like the door versus the room. The niche is the door. Coaching is the room. Too many coaches spend all their energy decorating the room and never think about what's inside. getting specific on who you serve makes you referable, right? When we were talking in the pre-call, we talked about specific is terrific. It's in that essence, right? Is if you've got no idea who you are and how you're showing up, then how are you showing up for other people? So that's really the practical reality of client acquisition. So yes, specific does matter, and yet it's not the goal, it's the starting condition. I think the final thing I would say is a question to reflect on. What do clients experience once they're inside your room, right? Do they leave feeling like something shifted, or do they come back and do they refer others? If the answer is no, the niche didn't fail, the coaching did.
Dr. Harris, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, thank you. And I was just writing a note what Kyle said. So learning. I look at it from two perspectives. One is very practical and the other is very philosophical. Okay, so I'll go with practical first. So some of the questions that I would want to ask myself, that what is niche? How do we define that word first of all? So if I define that word and if I find that word on the internet, it's about specific area of interest. Now, whose specific area of interest is yours, right? As a provider, your specific area of interest. So that's the answer. Now, who knows what's your interest? You yourself, right? So who needs to find out a niche? You got to find out. And how do you find out the niche? As Magda said, identify who are you so that you know what's your niche. Yeah. Now, that's the question number one. What is a niche, right? The question number two is, what should be a right question that we should really answer for ourselves so that we get the right answer? So I tell coaches, the framing of the question is incorrect here. So what we generally ask ourselves is, what is my niche? That's not the right question. From coaching perspective, I will say the question is, who is my niche? So if you have an answer of who is my niche, meaning who are those people that I enjoy working with? That's your niche as a coach. If you want to answer the question, which is, what is my niche? Then you are acting like a mentor or a consultant, because they should answer the question, what is my niche? A coach should answer, who is my niche? So if you have a coaching program, ask yourself, who is my niche? And if you have a mentoring or a consulting program, ask what's my niche? And the answer of that is the answer for you. Now, why is it that so many coaches are confused? Let's understand that. In my perspective, majority of our students, and not just our students, majority of aspiring coaches believe that once I become a coach, I'm going to become Tony Robbins. Stand on the stage, motivate everybody, solve everybody's problem, and make them, I'll be in a room of 10,000 people shouting and dancing and doing all of that and motivating, and that's coaching, because he says I'm a coach. So you believe I want to be that. Now, that's not the reality. It's a myth. What he's doing to show you is not coaching. Right? What is showing you is something else. But what you're thinking is as coaching. So as Kyle said, in the room, when you get in there, it's coaching that you need to do. And you got to answer yourselves, who is my niche? And I also want to bring in what Magda said, is beautifully said there, a natural flow of identification, of identifying. I'm sure I can guarantee nobody in this room on 14th May 2020 knew you are going to be with CTA in this class. None of you, including myself. But we are here today. It's because future is very predictable, but present is not. You did not expect that this is going to happen today, or you will come in today. So, and we want those answers for the future, while we forget that future is linked with time, and future takes its own time. And are you ready to give yourself that time to identify yourself, figure out who you are? And that's how you figure out a niche. Now, the confusion in our head is that I am told as a coach not to answer any question, right? Even if I figure out my niche, what will I do with that? Great, you all have niche. Let's for a moment imagine you have a niche now ready there. You can go there and work with niche. I mean, if you answer what is niche or what is your niche, right? What will you do with that? Can you do anything with that? Let's say you all have, for a moment, let's all of us imagine you all have a niche and you know what's your niche. What will you do with that in a coaching session? Can I give you the answer? Nothing, period. Nothing. So what will you do with that niche is not coach, rather market yourself to attract the client, that the ones who fit into the who of your answer. So niche is not for coaching, niche is for marketing. Branding, expanding, reach out, awareness. Can I give you a secret, everybody? Everybody, you want to hear that? The moment a client says, what's your niche? You know, what should you get in your head? What should you learn about them? You should really, really know that this client does not know anything about coaching. I promise you, the moment they ask you this question, my friend, you in your head, you should know they actually know nothing about coaching. Now you can do anything in the name of coaching, great. No, that's unethical, my friend. I'm not saying that. But that's an indication that you need to educate them on what is coaching. That tells you that you should actually not start with them, coaching them. You should start mentoring them and make them understand what is coaching. I mean, can you have an executive therapist, career therapist, life therapist? Have you ever heard like that? No, because it's about life. It's about people. You can have anyone in the room and work with them. So while I do want to give you an answer that how do you identify niche, I want to go back to that. I will say, identify who would you like to work with. Identify your marketing strategy to attract them. But when you get into that room, as Kyle said, you're just coaching them. Professional coaching, period. So you only need to know a niche, only to market, so that you can broaden from a very broad marketing to a narrow marketing funnel you can create for attracting people. Create videos, do whatever, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you enjoy doing, so that right person is approaching you, not a football coach saying, I want to learn football, or give me some high school coaching. We do get such requests too. Yeah. So that's my answer, Rachel and everybody. Who and what, keep that with you. Identify that, and you got your answer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, panelists. So now that we know their perspectives on niching, we're opening up the Q&A session for this panel discussion. I know all of you come with your own personal struggles and if you want to challenge our panelists, please go ahead and challenge them. Please be honest and ask your most honest questions for the next 45 minutes. So if you're so I know that there are some of you who are joining from YouTube Live as well. So we'll try to alternate between Zoom and YouTube Live. If you're joining on Zoom, please raise your hand and we'll invite you to unmute and ask your question. And if you're watching from YouTube, we'd like you to drop your questions in the comments, and our team will, get it for me, and I will be reading out the questions here. All right. So who would like to go first? Can I have a show of hands?
And while that's happening, Rachel, I just want to mention something that I saw just popped up on the screen that Linda mentioned. You know, what Dr. Harris said, it really just summarized the entire webinar. And so, and you got that within 48 minutes. I mean, I've been on these type of things that it took you 3-4 hours to get to. So the fact that we got that in 48 minutes, you should definitely start the car. So I think that is brilliant. And I loved what you said there, Dr. Harris, how you really just took both Magda's and I perspective and just brought it back into this one thing. So please know this is not, like Magda said, this is not scripted. This is the mastery of Dr. Harris. So well done on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle and Magda. And Rachel, by the way, we're receiving feedback on chat that your voice is not clear.
Yeah.
You want to do, I think it's
just regular microphone. So
you are good now.
I hope you can hear me right now and it's better. Yeah. Okay. So I was just saying that we're going into the question and answer session of this panel discussion. So if you have answers, questions, yes. Babir Ali has raised his hands. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Haris, and thank you, Magda, for this wonderful, more human way of interaction that I have missed entirely in my 18 years of technology career. And that brought me to coaching, actually. So when I was sick and tired with working with machines and only talking to them, then I realized that now this is the time to interact with people. And I was blessed and lucky enough to meet Haris and in person. And then I started my journey, and the 8 days that I spent with him in Dubai, it was transformational to say the least. Before learning about coaching, I was interested in helping people in their careers, and especially in the technology realm. And I learned that there has to be a madness behind a method. And there is. So I learned coaching, and I've been learning about it for a year now, and I'm enjoying it at the same time. However, this particular question kept with me, like, who do I want to serve? When I experienced coaching, I understood that it's all about life. How can I serve people at large with their whatever problems they are facing, relationship problems, career problems, personal problems, developmental problems, all kinds of problems. So then I started facing a dilemma that, do I want to serve people specifically in their careers, or do I want to serve people with their lives as a whole? Now, when I realized myself, and I resonate with what Magda said, that when I learned about coaching, then I felt that, oh, I'm good with people. I can really dig deep in the awareness thing. And I actually enjoy it. Then the same dilemma took over, and then, oh, okay, I want to help people with their careers. So recently, I give you an example. I was coaching a university student, and he wanted coaching, and he said that, okay, I just want to know how to get a job. I said that fair enough. I was successful with the door part, so I let him in. Now this was my room, and I started coaching him, and I started tapping into the emotions, but he was reluctant, and he said, no, I want to know how can you help me with getting a job. And then I was like, this is not working. Like, I am trying to help him overall, like the mindset thing and the transformational stuff, but he was suffering somewhere else. So I failed. I failed to help him in a way that we are trained to, but he was persistent. No, I want specific A, B, C steps. How can I get a job? So now it has put me again into the same dilemma. even if I, following the analogy of Kyle of the room and the door, I still am facing this dilemma, even though I fully resonate with what you guys said.
That's a question, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So still, even though I'm still not clear, like even with those analogies and all, I'm still not clear who would be the niche, and if I am able to serve people at large, like with their life problems, or okay, I ask people to come in with my career coaching, marketing stuff. I ask people to come in, and then I'll start coaching them. But I'm not sure if I should even coach them writing CVs and preparing for the interviews, or I should coach them with their actual transformational problems.
Okay.
So
Who,
it's a question to any of you.
yeah. I'm smiling because when you were talking, I had questions in my head to ask you. Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
So when you said, I still want to figure out who do I want to serve? My question is that, do you know who do you not want to serve?
I don't want to serve anybody who doesn't have a problem. So I want to serve someone who has a problem that is an obstacle for them in growing themselves, in whichever area it might be it
And I'm
career or
yet to,
relationship or
and
whatever.
I'm yet to find a person who doesn't have a problem.
Yeah, we all have problems.
And my second question that I wrote is that the guy said, I want to know how do I find a job? Sometimes for me, a single word replacement can change the mindset. So for me, for that guy, and I'm sure, and I'm thinking it with you, I'm not answering your question, and you figure out when you get an answer for yourself, Babar. But in my head, I'm saying, does he want to know? Does he want to identify how to find a job? Because when people say no, they know it all. So before I coach, do I make them coaching ready?
Yes. So what I'm hearing is that, well, everybody has a problem, sure. So it depends on the coach how they can bring them into a coaching space and allow them to open up, so that they can. So it's I'm feeling like getting back to the basics, and then really spend time on getting someone into the coaching space.
And I want you to also, I think, reconsider what Magda and Kyle said, a natural flow and a room that they can enjoy. You can put people in any room, but does it belong to them? Right, Kyle? And Magda, I can bring you guys in there. I think a lot of me.
I mean, I have so much to say, but you know, Barbara, I hear exactly where you're from, and I'm really trying not to make this a group coaching session for you, right? But so I know you want to be able to have some distinct things here, and I think so. I got stuck at the serve part. I really did. I got stuck of hearing that you want to serve other things. And trust me, there's a great book out there that says that, Servitude Leadership. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and I know they'll never invite me to speak about it because I think the serving is, because I kept saying to myself, how are you serving yourself? Right. So as a coach, I have to be mindful of how I'm serving myself. And I would say if anyone who's been on a flight, I would say the best advice a flight attendant will give you is don your own mask before assisting others. And so I would say in this moment, even whatever is happening, what is happening for me? Right? Because it doesn't matter what they're going to bring, and they may not be ready for it. They have no idea. Like Dr. Harris said, they may not even know this is about coaching. So we may have to be curious and clarify. If you want me to just tell you what to do, I could tell you right now, I could save you a lot of money and say that's just not going to happen. However, what you don't know is there's some awareness here that we could probably get into. So I don't think you failed. So I would put it out there. In my humble opinion, you didn't fail anyone. You really didn't, right? They were asking for something that we did not know how to answer for them.
Yeah, and that's exactly where the coaching comes in, right? So we need to understand as coaches that, okay, if I don't know the answer to something, and I also know that, okay, if coaching is for that person or not, that's also something that we need to know. So again, coming back to the flow. Thank you.
And Magda, could you expand on flow? Because I want to hear more about that, if that's okay. Because I mean, this is probably the first time I've actually heard it outside, because I often hear the word balance, and I personally have an issue with the word balance, and I'm more prescriptive to flow. So I would love to hear your take on that.
So, Barbara, thank you for the question, and I second what Harris and Kyle said. You didn't fail. This is an awareness in itself. Every single time is an awareness, and what are you going to do with this awareness? So just sit with it and see what is the message. You know, metaphors, analogies are good. And one of the recent analogies that I've been using, and Kyle, I will answer your question. The client needs to be ready to go inside that dark forest. So this is the journey for me when I do the coaching. Many people told me that it's very scary at the beginning, but they need to be comfortable with me. And me as a coach, I need to be comfortable to go into that dark forest. So there need to be a trust. So as Kyle said, if they are not ready to enter the forest, doesn't matter how ready you are. What if you are also not ready? And that's okay. And that's okay. And Kyle, the flow, you know, as I said, it needs to be natural. So it pulls me. Like for me, it was natural to take care of a patient who is sick. I will naturally go and comfort a patient or a doctor who is angry. I will not get scared. For me, this is natural. I want to bring the situation to a closure and bring like this also awareness for them. So the teaching, coaching happening for me and for them. So the flow, I am natural, and I am also a strength coach. So if you take the Clifton assessment, right, I need to know where are my strengths. And for me, that was another piece of feedback or awareness when I've realized one of my top 5 strengths is connectedness. What is the definition of connectedness? I am good at connecting with people, but also my minds work in a way that I am able to connect the most abstract pieces in the universe, and I see the sense before anyone else can see the sense. So this is the flow. I need to know myself to be able to go in that flow. If I don't know who I am, what is my strength? And it's normal for us not to say at the beginning, I am good at this, because we are shy. It doesn't sound good, right? I am good at this. No, I am good at holding space. I am good at creating space. I create spaces where people cry when they meet themselves and look in the mirror. I care. I have great empathy. This is what I use with my patients, with my colleagues in leadership journey after I developed them. I wasn't like that at the beginning. I was the hero who only takes care about KPIs, not about the people. But then I realized through feedback and others who told me, you are good at this. You are good at this. There are results. People feel better. People feel safe to open up. People feel safe to challenge you. They don't just blindly follow. So I need to know myself before I go into the niche, before trying to be in the flow. And it's a journey. We say it's a journey. It's a cliche saying it's a journey, but it's a very nice journey to be on. You're learning so many things on that journey that, believe me, just keep going because you've already started. Keep going.
Thank you so much, Magda and Kyle and Haris, for such insightful answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Babar. Thank you. Shiva, you have your hands up. You can unmute yourself and ask your question right now.
Thank you. I think some of the questions partly are answered in the last thing, but I would still like to ask these two questions. I've just started coaching after completing with CTA. So do I have the luxury right now to look at whom I want to work with, or should I look at what is the opportunity in front of me that I can grab based on what I am today? That's one question. Because yes, I want to work with certain a set of segment of people, but right now I can't afford to wait for that. And I need to look at an opportunity so that the flow is there. I keep going is one part. I just wanted your opinion on that. Second part is, as I start coaching, I realize that I have only a certain bandwidth. I have, let's say, 8 hours in a day, and maximum I can cater to 8 people in a day. So is it, for me, I come with a business background, so I like to do things in scale. So when I look at from a scalability point of view, I am thinking, is solving a specific problem for a specific audience scalable, or should I focus on a specific problem for a larger audience which can be scalable? These are the two questions.
If I may, the answer is no and yes. Anything else? I'll expand. I'll expand a little bit, if I may. So that's a great. I mean, you're asking the right question, because we've all been there. We've started there. People are there right now. People will be there. Like Dr. Harris said, in 2035, people will still be there. Like we're not going to solve that today. But there's some stuff that I would reflect on for myself in that journey, which is, if you settle for everything, if you settle for nothing, you'll settle for everything, right? So although it's very hard in that moment, because you want to be productive, you also want to make some money, you're probably tired of eating out of your freezer and all that other stuff that goes with it. And we say that to coaches. Anyone who's getting into coaching to be rich, you stop. I mean, I think Dr. Harris told a few people that already. Don't. Like, you're going to have to go through your fridge, your cupboards, all these things before you finally get into your authenticity niche, so to speak. So I would say, if back to what Magda mentioned earlier, if you're not specific in what it is that you want to work with, or what you want to do, or contribute to that space, or where you want to flow, then people around you won't know. So if I said I can work with anybody and everybody who needs coaching, you have no idea who to recommend me. But if I said, you know what, I'm looking to work with males between 35 and 45 working in this sector, already you're thinking, I know someone. I don't know if they need coaching or not, but I know someone, I can make that connection. Now, does that mean if someone says, well, Kyle, I mean, I'm female, I'm 25, 26 years old, can you work with me? People will fit themselves in. They will put themselves in there. So even though you've got coaches who work with only females, they will tell you, I work with males, I work with, of course they do, right? But if we don't give someone something specific, then they won't know, right? And you won't know is a part of it. And so even scalability, when you get so good at your craft and you're flowing through it, that's really what you're scaling, and not necessarily going out and says, I need to grab this, I need to grab that. That's just my take.
Mm. Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shiva.
Dr. Heather, would you like to add more to
just
that?
a comment there, Shiva, for you. I mean, when you said, do I have the luxury of doing that? I think you have coaching, you have the luxury, and only give luxury. That will solve all your puzzles.
Okay.
And that will scale it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shiva. Next up, I think Mona, you have a question. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes. Hello, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My question is for Miss Magda. She said during her speech that instead of crying, start to create. Would you please give us more about that?
Mona, thank you so
Yes.
much for this question. Lovely to see you. Thank you for being
Me
with us
too.
in this
Thank you.
space. I specifically said instead of being angry and complaining, but for sure crying was also there because, working in healthcare in the NHS in the UK, here in Dubai during COVID, and then in Kuwait, there is a lot of hard moments, So here comes probably the best to explain it, the self-management concept. If I sit there and complain and cry and be angry, one of the concepts that I bring also to the table is the victim reality. If I'm sitting there and moaning, I'm the victim. And this is a very well-known concept of organizational psychology, the victim, the villain, and the persecutor. And then I can move. This position is not fixed in time. So we will all enter at some point in our life the victim, the persecutor, or the villain position. When we are stressed, when something is going on, when we are less aware. The minute that awareness comes, with awareness comes a choice. And this is my magic formula that is the core of the mental agility framework and the book. Awareness, choice, change. 3 steps, 1 flow, works wonders. I have an awareness that I'm angry. I have an awareness that I'm moaning and doing nothing. My stress level is going up. I'm not a very good coworker. People around me are not enjoying. My family is not enjoying. It's not only the work. What is left of me after I go home? I am frustrated, angry, bitter. So I have an awareness. Choice. What do I want to do with it? So the choice can be, I'm gonna sit on it a little bit longer to understand it. I'm gonna ask a friend, a coach, a mentor to ask me a question to get another insight. I'm gonna do some research. There is so much research now about how to raise self-awareness, how to better ourselves. I'm not talking about the research about magic funnels. Please don't read this one. Awareness, choice. So I've taken a choice. I decided in that moment to act differently. If previously I started blaming others and being angry, I choose to ask a question. So I come with curiosity. Almost immediately, the outcome will be different. So awareness, choice, change. You have a change at the end of this magic formula. And I call it magic. I come from healthcare. I like prescriptions. I very often joke about magic prescriptions. However, there are magic if you use them in the right way, in a personalized way. There isn't a script or a matrix or, yeah, a magic formula or a funnel how to find your niche and how to get your clients. So the minute you have awareness, it is your choice. What do I want to do with it? And that awareness is also an emotion, not only a piece of information. It can be feedback someone gave you. It can be, I'm feeling really restless. What is it? As Kyle said, pause. Feel it. What is it? Where is it in your body? My chest is tight. My throat is constricting because I'm so angry. I'm so stressed. There is so many emotions floating. Can be more than one. Angry, frustrated, anxious, disappointed, sad, defeated. Defeated is not an emotion, but a lot of things going on. Again, an emotion is a message from you to you. It's not the other person who made you angry, the toxic boss, the organization, everyone else. It's on you. So this is how I learn the power of accepting that all emotions are human emotions. So it is okay to feel anger. It is okay to feel frustration, same like happiness, joy, sadness. All these emotions are there for a reason. Just be aware that anger is one of these emotions that if not channeled properly, it can be destructive to you, but also to others. So for me, the anger worked wonders. And every time now, we all get angry. I'm not saying that I've developed this framework and that's it. Anger went away, Magda doesn't become angry. Of course it happens. People will trigger you. But then another magic formula that I use, 3 words. Pause, think, talk. Majority of people skip the first 2. Pause, think, talk. Every time you are angry, you're frustrated, you're furious, even if you are happy, and this is what I tell leaders in organizations, when you received a bonus and then you're being asked to get involved in 5, 6 different projects, and you say, yes, 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 because I'm happy, I have extra cash in my bank account. And then tomorrow you're like, oh my God, what have I done? Don't let the emotional brain speak. This is the science. I really love the science as a nurse, and my friends call me the scientist. That's like I study why we behave like this. What is driving us to moan? What is driving us to be critical? What is driving us to sit in the victim reality? Why am I angry? It's okay. It's all normal human experience. But what am I gonna do with it is my choice. And one more thing just to add, sometimes it's not the right time to take that choice. So you should not feel bad about it. Something happens, it might not be the right time. You need to sit with it a little bit longer. Really understand what is going on before you take that action and produce a different outcome.
Thank you for that. But I want to add something. One
Please.
small point that because I'm the same feedback, I was in the Ministry of Health that time, and I I have been worked 33 years at that field, and
Lovely.
I know how much you're feeling and how much you are. And maybe I don't know how to describe it, that emotion with you, but I'm sure that I have the same at that time.
Amazing.
And now, Alhamdulillah, I have been changed my niche.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Beautiful synergy. And again, thank you for this question.
Thank you, Magda. Thank you, Dr. Haris.
Thank you, Mona. Next, I think Mushfiq Latifi. Could you please open your mic and you can let us know of your question.
Yeah, hello everyone, and I want to thank Rachel, to you and to all the coaches, all the you guys. I just want to express these feelings that your introduction is just something that even like I would say today was something that I just learned, you know, like the rarest thing that I just came across, and I don't know how to, you know, like call it, but I would say it was just purely simple. And as even Baber said, human, you know, like it's something that we need actually. Okay, that's one part. And whatever you have been saying during this webinar was actually advice to me, which I just started this journey. And as Magda said, you know, like we have to learn. So we can never say, I know everything. So we have to learn. And for me, especially, I just started. So from the people that have come across this journey, I can get any single word would be something for me to learn. So for the sake of learning, I don't want to ask a question. I just would like to ask each coach, let's say, to give us the best advice for today, for me personally, but of course for everyone here in the room to learn. And Rachel, you can also be included to that part. You can say something from your experience. But I have one strange question to Magda. Maybe I missed that part. Just because of her, I don't know how to call it, but maybe beautiful or uh, amazing accent. Where are you from, Magda, originally? I'm just really curious about that. That's it. Thank you so much.
Mushfiq, I give you 3 guesses.
Please.
3
Okay,
guesses for
you give
you.
me
Yeah.
okay. So I can feel like some Spanish notes, some Italian, no,
One more.
and French maybe.
No, failed. Or
Wait,
maybe it's an
sorry.
awareness. That's
Okay,
interesting. I am Polish.
Polish. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you so much. But your accent, honestly, like combining this English, Russian, because Russian is close to me as well, and then it comes out something like
I
beautiful.
studied Russian,
Thank
yes.
you.
I speak Russian. I studied 20 years ago, but yes, we are all multicultural community in here, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Thank you
I
for
can see
asking.
that. Thank you.
Slavic, yes. Right, who
So
wants to start?
I will. So you can start, Magda, maybe just from your side, and then continue with other gents.
This is a really heavy duty to give an advice. I need to
And the
weigh
best advice.
the best advice.
Magda, while you're thinking of the advice, can I ask a question to Mushfiq? Maybe that will. So
Go.
when we have advised you, whatever advice
Yeah.
you want, what will you do with that?
I will take a note. I have a notebook here, and of course, in my, let's say, coaching classes, and while I'm for sure in the future, inshallah, I do the coaching sessions myself. I will definitely implement whenever the right time comes for these advices, because I'm sure these advices that you are going to give, you have experienced it at a time, like whenever, like maybe once or 10 times. So yeah, and I'm sure it worked. So, or you can say how it can work, why it can work. So when I say advice, it can be advice, it can be the best experience, it can be a hint for coaching, it can be something for the new starters, or just in general for coaching, so anything, because I'm sure you'll give something nice. So it's just learning. So anything.
So you are a new coach, Mushfiq, right? I understand you did your training recently. Okay.
I don't want to call myself coach yet, but I've just started like 2 months ago. So on the way of being a coach, let's say.
Congratulations. Then I have a story for you. Let me bring myself back to when I was in level
Thanks.
1. And we used to practice, right? We
Yeah.
volunteered to be coaches or clients, and I was a coach. I was still at the very beginning. You know, it was the time when I used to live in Kuwait. I would write the A4 model
Okay.
and potential questions on a flip chart, put it on the wall, and I'm sitting here in front of the computer and the questions are there. And this is how I would do the coaching session. This is how we all do it, right? So make sure
Yeah.
that I cover the elements. And then one day, just before the coaching session, I had some crisis. The flight ticket got cancelled, and I'm on the phone, and this and going on. Da, 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 da. I realized 1 minute I'm going online and I'm gonna be coaching, and I am stressed because potentially I cannot fly to Dubai for a weekend. So I'm sitting there and thinking, I cannot do this. I cannot show up like this in the coaching session. It's not how I can serve the client. It's not fair on the client. It's not fair on me. I cannot do it. What do I do in that moment? I don't know how. I managed to steady myself. I did not use the flip chart for the first time. And I delivered a session that then Dimitri, one of the senior facilitator, recommended me to become one of the facilitators. So I think the advice here is if you are stressed or under pressure or not fully there, don't do it. You are gonna lost in the dark. You are gonna get lost in the dark forest, and your client also. And then no one will find you. I think this is my best advice here.
Thank you so much, Magda. It's really valuable.
Thank
So
you.
actually, that's one of the answers that I got to my question, because it came to me like several times that when you feel you are not ready, is it from the point of, let's say, coaching standards, is it acceptable not to perform that, let's say, session? So I get the answer that it's better actually not to do it, so that you don't, like mess around with the client and, but thank you so much.
For me, it was the mental state. Actually, I was not fully present. Mentally, physically, there was no alignment. Okay, you can forget the question. Sometimes we will mess up. You will not do enough on awareness. But if you are not fully there, there is no point.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Harris?
I was still processing Magda's advice, by the way. No, I think Mushfiq, I want to be mindful of the fact that you said you've just started.
Yep.
And I think the advice for a beginner or when you're beginning the journey is not to advise in a coaching session. Just keep that in mind, because when you start, you have too many suggestions, too many advices for your client. Just keep it to yourself.
Okay.
Does that not answer your question?
I mean, it says something for sure. And as you said, I do hear a lot of things, and I'm sure I will be hearing many things from many people. And of course, I never consider things right or wrong. I consider them what could be the best out of that sentence or advice or hint, whatever, for myself personally, to be myself, to to explore myself as a human being. And of course, if I choose this as a profession, let's say, or I don't even want to call this profession, but coach. So what benefit it can give me to become better, to become more, natural in that way.
Right. And that's what happens when you stop to advise and think of those advices that you have in your head. You start to listen to yourself and client beyond those words.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harris.
Thank you. Kyle, I think he asked everybody. Do you want to hear a third response too, Kushbu?
Okay, I've got some advice. If I could give 4, you could take it, throw it out, if that's all right. And as you go on your journey, I think it's, I know it was helpful for me. I think number 1 is just be clear. I would say get clear on what you've already seen real results, right, with your clients. So as you start that journey, what are you noticing as results? How are you marking for yourself success? What are they saying is successful? And this could be other questions that you ask other people. And, I know this is not necessarily new for you, because I suspect that people in your community or around you naturally talk to you. I think it's something you do probably quite naturally, right? And so pay attention to what's working, what has changed for them, what didn't work. So back to that curiosity. The second thing I would say, collect feedback, because for whatever reason, I find that we're hesitant with feedback, right? Which is back to our own awareness, right? Is we may not want to hear certain things. So I think collect feedback. I'm not talking about testimonials for those people who are just looking for their website, but actual honest feedback. What did clients say about you? Sometimes when I'm working in that space with other people, I go for a business, I look at what people said about their Google reviews. And they may say, I love them because they do this. I love they do that. I love their service for this. And then I would say to the senior team, what are you good at? And it's remarkable to me that most of the things that people are saying, they don't say. So I wonder why that is. So they think they're providing this world-class experience, but no one in their Google review says it's a world-class experience, right? So there's something about that. So I would say collect feedback and be okay with collecting feedback. And the third thing I would say is get coached yourself. Right? If you're not currently working with a coach or a mentor, you have it. I'm still mentored by Dr. Harris. I mean, from my first time I met him during COVID, right? So we're still having that conversation because it allows you to go back to what Magda mentioned, Dr. Harris as well, is about that awareness of self. You build that awareness because a lot of times we don't know that we're doing things habitually. Right? And we just want to stay with the habit and that's all we know. And one thing I've learned about comfort zone, it's quite comfortable, but nothing grows in a comfort zone, right? So you don't grow. There's no growth there, right? And the fourth thing I would say is that this is advice from my mom, right? That I didn't appreciate when I was younger, but as I gotten older, I think for most people, we appreciate it. One thing she said to me is, I have no business arguing with people that I know don't know any better. And so I've added to that by saying, which doesn't mean I can't be curious about them. It doesn't mean that I can't explore the conversation. So I think back to that awareness, if someone is going off, and we see that on social media, we see that everywhere, and we want to get our 2 cents in, but what about da da da? If I know you don't know any better, me arguing with you is not going to get you there, but I could be curious.
That's amazing. Thanks so much, Kyle. And I note them down. And I just want to mention that collecting feedback, I'm on it whenever in demo sessions and in any practicing sessions. Straight after the session, of course, because we are doing it for the sake of learning. The first question is, how is the session? How was Mushfiq as a coach? What was the best thing that you got from the session, etc. Like this kind of coaching questions for me to collect as a feedback to again to learn and to develop more. And what's working, to find out what's working, it's really like it's crucial, it's very important. As I'm in the customer service, actually, the one that you said, most of the people that don't really say, like, let's say we are in the luxury restaurant, we are serving, like, doing fine dining service, and when you approach to the table, like, everyone is happy, amazing, no questions, no anything. And then, like, after 10 minutes, you review a Google and you see comment from the specific table that you just approached and which said everything was amazing. So you just received something opposite. So it's normal, but it's out of the control. You cannot do anything.
And one thing I would just point out really quickly is I love the distinction that you were asking about what was great about it. Because I think we're wired to, what can I improve? What can I do better? What can I, and I love, because sometimes we have to be reminded of what was so good about it, right? Because we're naturally drawn to that negativity, but there's something about, what did you love about the session? What resonated with you? What was really good for you? That's great. That's great feedback. Well done.
Thank you so much. And by adding to that, actually, as a person, I consider myself as a positive person, but especially since started this coaching journey, I try not to like ask any negative question at all. Like I never say what was bad or what was not good or etc. As you just mentioned, what was the best part of it? Like, what did you like about it? Because I'm sure if you are like you have any if you consider something or you're curious about something, you will say, okay, actually everything is good, or this is the good point, but there was something that I would recommend you to improve. Okay, thank you so much. Actually, that was, let's say, negative, but I didn't mention it. You just gave it to me. So by asking the positive question, let's say. And thank you so much, all. Thank you so much today, Rachel. Really, like as everyone said, all the masters said in the beginning, your energy. I'm not the person that in the webinar could talk that much, but the overall energy of this webinar, guys, honestly, made me to talk maybe already 20 minutes. But thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you
that.
so much, Mushfiq. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think we have time for two more questions. Murwarid, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm genuinely sorry. Murwarid,
No worries. I get that all the time. It's not an easy name to spell out. Don't worry. Morvarid, yes, correct. So I just finished, just yesterday finished the course at CTA. And I guess my question is, when we were given a homework to do the Wheel of Life, and in the first place we were asked to be in the client's shoes and then do this Wheel of Life, and then on this axle, I was putting what I wanted to be coached on. And then once the homework finished, our coach, our trainer said, okay, this will be something you will pass on to your clients, and they would choose, you would coach them on these subjects. Now, ironically, I have chosen exactly the things that I wanted to be coached on as the things that I wanted to coach people on, and that scared the S out of me. So my question is, can this happen basically, and where is it coming from? Because I really wanted to, I was passionate about the subjects, super passionate, but then I realized, oh, I don't know anything about them. How do I want to coach them? But these are exactly what I want to do. So where do you start when you're in that space?
Dr. Harris, do you want to take it?
So I think you are the best coach, Marwarid, for that. Because when you don't know anything, you can really coach without any judgment. And that's when your question can be very easy, clean, pure, no judgment, and just being curious.
So you don't have to have the knowledge to offer something on those topics? I mean, it's just a lived experience, I would say, but it's necessarily not the knowledge.
It's a question because it's right. I mean, it's just because yesterday you finished the training. You will get the answer, give yourself a month and come back.
Mm-hmm.
You will tell me what is evolving for you.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. And Rachel, we've got a couple of hands up there. So just maybe
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing is you're not the expert in the room. Right? The client really is, right? You'll see that in many other places. You're not the expert in the room. So you could leave that at the door. You could say, oh, I could get into this room without being the expert. You're really not the expert in the room. They know themselves better than other. However, they will do a little bit of a head fake because they will come to you and say, hey, I need you to tell me what to do. And so that's okay. They could say that, but they don't know yet that they're the expert.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Murwarid. Thank you for your question. So we are running a slightly behind schedule, so we'll be taking two more questions, after which we'll move on to closing remarks by our panelists. Zainab Shakir, could you please open your mic and give us your question?
Hello. How are you, ma'am? Great. Okay, first of all, I just want to thank you, all of you. You are giving us a very greatest opportunity to ask the questions. So, yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, my question is that as a coach, we deal every client and we try to release their pain, their stress, like this type of things. Okay, but if as a coach I stuck in a stress, in a depression, and I just want to live alone and like a full of stress, full of like depressions. So in this case, how can I deal with myself? So would you like to give answers, Sir Haris?
You said hi, ma'am, and I'm assuming Magda is going to answer.
No, sir. I just want to ask to you.
Oh, to me?
Yeah.
I mean, as a coach, you don't become a god, right? You will have all your problems in life, and you should have them so that when you experience, you know how others experience it. So learn to work with yours while you still work with your client. No harm.
Okay.
That okay is not convincing
Yes, sir. Exactly.
because you're seeking an advice which you're not ready to accept, I think.
Sir,
That's what I'm
sometime,
assuming in my head.
sir, actually, sometime whenever I feel stress, depression, na, so I feel that yeah, I cannot do this thing. I cannot do each and everything. Whenever I stuck stress, so my feeling is that yeah, I cannot do anything in my life.
So I think before some time, Magda, I want to talk about what you said. Magda's framework of awareness, choice, and change. And I think you're aware of yourself. Make a choice, and that's in your control. The choice could be I'm going to enjoy stress and do nothing. And the choice could be I don't want to enjoy stress and I want to do everything. That's a choice, but own the choice and make that change.
Okay, sir.
I can only help you get committed to, but you have to get yourself committed to it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So make a choice to what do you want to be committing to.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you, Zainab.
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
you.
Thank you. I think we should take two more questions
Two more.
there. Hani and Mona have,
Mona.
yeah. But I think if you guys can also just tell us who do you want to answer or something like that, so that we're very quick and we are in time. Yeah. So go ahead, Hani. I think Rachel.
Go ahead, honey.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd just like to say, Kyle, it's good to see the maple leaf after so long. It's always refreshing for me. So, living in the Middle East for some time now. So, my question is more on. Well, the thing is, I'm just in the beginning of my level 2 training. So, I wouldn't call myself an established coach. I'm still, in the beginning of my journey. But through peer-to-peer coaching, I've been lucky to really work with very interesting partners. And I'm finding a lot about myself that if I'm comfortable with certain clients, let's say, if there's a lot of ambiguity, I find myself a bit lost in the discussion. Coming from a consulting background, I tend to sort of try to drive towards a solution so that I want them to find the solution at the end of the session. Most of the peer coachings were good. Like, I got positive feedback. I felt good about it. But in a couple of cases, because it was so ambiguous, I was lost myself as well. And I understand it's because, I'm still green at it. I haven't sort of sharpened my teeth enough to be able to manage that. But I think in that case, what would be a good advice so that, because I already feel where I'm gravitating towards because I'm an executive, so I want to sort of coach executives on their transformation journeys because I've been doing that as my career. So I already know more or less where I want to go. And usually in that space, the reason why I feel comfortable with or confident actually with people that have sort of like a clear issue or objective in mind, it just makes it easier for me. But then on that one-off case where I get a client that isn't clear on what they want, I struggle because there's a personal need that I want to take them to that sort of conclusion. So what can I do in these type of cases where they don't know where they want to go, and I'm struggling to figure out where they want to go. So, I mean, that question is for everybody, because I see everybody nodding their heads. I'm sure you guys went through this when you were, growing in your journey. So I appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
I'm going to make this really quick because I'm going to pivot over to Dr. Harris for a second here to help you with this, only because we've been having this conversation about when is mentoring introduced, right? Which this is, I think, might be at a different level for different folks. So I don't really want to talk over anyone's head on that, but I think there's something about in that coaching journey, they don't know what they don't know. And so as a coach, sometimes that is where mentorship may be introduced. Dr. Harris, do you mind expanding on that?
Yeah, I think, thank you, Kyle. You're right. I mean, sometimes people do not know what is the process of knowing. And when they don't know how to identify when they have known it, some telling approach is required. So that's one way. You may want to be mentoring your client on how to identify that. But if you decide to not to mentor and just keep in coaching space only, I think it's not so much about they don't know. It's also about our impatience that we want them to know quickly. Ask them, how many sessions are you okay to come in and sit with me for you to figure out what you want to know? Let them say 10, 20, 100. Let them enjoy.
I mean, it's good business.
And they are your ideal clients, because if they know what they want, sometimes they don't need you. Because, honey, a secret for you. You ready? You ready?
Yes.
Even if they know what they want to know, it's not what they wanted to know. So if you think that this is what they wanted to know and you work on that, you are blocking the space of awareness. What's unknown here?
Yeah. Can I interject on this point?
You can ask another question, but you should not interject.
Okay. Can I ask another question then?
Go ahead.
Well, the way I try to do this with my peers right now, it's not clients, it's peers, usually is I dig deeper in the awareness stage. So it's not like, they tell me I want to solve this problem and then we run towards the end. I start digging more into the awareness to peel a couple of layers to identify something that maybe in the next half hour they say, you know what, yeah, this is what's really bothering me, this is what's really the issue. So I, again, just to sort of on that point, yeah, I don't take the first statement as is. And actually in one of my training sessions, I mentioned this to my coach, is that if I follow the A4 model religiously, I don't do well, because I don't like to just get agreement from the first second. I usually try to get awareness from the client, and then I go back, circle around and say, so is this what you really want to talk about? And 75% of the time, it turns out to be something else. So I try to do that. I'm happy that I'm able to do this. And it was confirmed to me in training that, yes, you follow the framework, but you're not married to it. So, you should be able to step away a bit, circle around, but then at the end, maybe somewhere you're getting that agreement, you're getting that awareness, and then you're getting through the actions and whatever. So
just one statement here. It's a framework, not a script.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
I wrote it down actually in one of my reflection sheets. I heard it either from you or from my trainer. So, but it's written there somewhere.
Yeah. Thank you. I think we should quickly take Mona's question. Thank you,
Sure.
Hani. I think
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Mona,
Hi,
please.
everyone. Actually, it's only a reflection, something that I like to share with everyone. We can always start by having the attention within, inside. What's going on with us? How do we deal with stuff? How do you perceive stuff? Are we aware of what's going on with us? And after that, we are able to help others because everything from the inside would be reflecting outside. And even if I have a client coming to deal with something something that I have no connection whatsoever, I am sure I am connected because that's why the client is there in front of me right now. And it is the time for it to be changed or dealt with because the client is here. And through my questions to the client, definitely I'm reflecting on myself too. So all the required hours are an investment in ourselves. This is what I wanted to add.
Mona, can I just say thank you for saying this? Because before you start the coaching session, ask yourself what is your intention. So the alignment, mind, body, heart, soul, right? And the intention is coming from here. When you come with the right intention, you will show up in the right way.
Sure.
Love it.
And what a time to say this, by the way, Mona. Thank you. At the right
Thank you
time.
very much. See, everything happens in time.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for your questions. And I think that brings us to the end of our panel discussion and Q&A. And what an incredibly insightful conversation this was, even for me. And I thank all of our panelists, Kyle, Dr. Harris, Magda, for keeping it real, for talking from the heart, for being human and being honest in this conversation. Thank you so much. And it was a huge learning experience for me, especially. If you guys don't know, I am new to all of this. I was introduced during the last community call, and I'm actually very new to CTA. I'm very new to coaching, and this has been incredible for me. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining on a very busy schedule. I know everyone's very busy, and you're joining for 2 hours, so that's a big deal. Thank you so much, guys. All right, so before we move on, everybody's from the not everyone here is from the CTA community, I'm sure. So we would love you to connect with our speakers today on LinkedIn. So we leave their LinkedIn profiles on the chat right now, so you can connect with them and continue conversations personally as well. And if you're new here, you can also join our LinkedIn community. Please take a moment to scan the QR code and join our community. And it's on the community that we'll be sharing all of the upcoming panel discussions and all of the upcoming webinars we have planned for the coming year. We have so much in store for you. So please follow us there, join the community, and yeah, so that's about it. But before we go, if you're new here, I'd like to talk a little bit about CTA and CTA or Coach Transformation Academy. We are a global coaching organization focused on helping individuals build strong real-world coaching capabilities. And we also have, as you can see right now, we have a thriving community of over 2,000 plus coaches from over 70 countries. And hi to all of you here, 2,000 coaches if you're here. So if you'd like to be part of our tribe, like I said, please join our community. Awesome. So before we go, one other thing that I want to talk about is the upcoming cohorts. So we have a bunch of cohorts coming up in the month of May, June, and July. One that I specifically want to talk about here is our NLP cohort, which is running from the 6th to the 11th of June. The reason I wanted to especially bring this up is because this happens once in a year. So you might not be able to attend an NLP cohort, NLP program if you do not join this cohort for an entire year. So if you are interested to join any of these programs in the next 3 months, please reach out to info@coachtransformation.com. And since it's International Coaching Week, we have a special discount running of 15%. So please get in touch with us at info@coachtransformation.com. All right, that's about it. We've reached the end. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for joining in, and stay and follow us on our socials so you remain updated on all of our future programs. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kyle and Magda. Amazing.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you, all of you. It was amazing.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
God bless.
How come no one's leaving? Do they think there's an after show?
Let's have an after party here.
Nobody wants to miss. I mean, there might be things going on. And I'm like, no, I don't want to miss another word that goes on. I just... So now the organizer needs to end the meeting.
It's on me now. Okay.
Bye-bye. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Take
Bye,
care, everyone.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.